Houstonians are saying their wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. We'll discuss this survey and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also talk with Arthouse Houston's executive director, Maureen McNamara, who will discuss a local effort to preserve the Garden Oaks Theater.
Plus, we'll also chat with Rice University postdoctoral researcher who also happens to be a Houston Texans cheerleader.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click the purple box.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Trump administration is announcing an end to what Minnesota Governor Tim Walz characterizes as an unprecedented federal invasion. Today, Border Czar Tom Homan announced the heightened immigration enforcement presence in Minneapolis and St. Paul will wind down. NPR's Meg Anderson covered Homan's remarks today in Minneapolis, a flashpoint of the nationwide protests against sweeping immigration enforcement operations, including those that resulted in the deaths of 2 U.S. citizens last month.
He did not mention either Renee Macklin Good or Alex Preddy, the 2 people killed, though he did say he wanted an end to bloodshed. And he talked a lot about unlawful agitators in his remarks, referring to the people watching immigration agents filming them, honking and whistling. Homan said they've arrested around 200 people for impeding operations, though legal experts told me that in other places, those arrests have not led to charges or convictions.
NPR's Meg Anderson reporting. The U.S. House has voted to rebuff President Trump's emergency tariffs on goods from Canada. 6 Republicans joined the Democrats in yesterday's vote. NPR's Frank Ordonez reports on the rare GOP rebuke to one of Trump's favorite economic tools.
Republicans have faced increasing pressure from constituents about high costs, and the business community is afraid to invest with all the uncertainty. Brendan Duke, who served at the National Economic Council in the Biden White House, says a new Congressional Budget Office report shows that companies are passing on 95% of those costs to consumers.
Which flies directly in the face of the justifications that Trump and his entire administration has given for these sweeping taxes.
And Trump is pushing back. Last night, he threatened to support primary challengers against any Republican who votes against his tariffs. Franco Ordonez, NPR News, the White House.
The Trump administration is preparing to roll back key aspects of an Obama-era policy to limit human-caused climate change. The EPA wants to rescind the endangerment finding through which the agency had been regulating climate pollution from cars, power plants, and the oil and gas industry. Ukraine's capital came under a massive missile and drone attack in the early morning hours, the damage still being assessed. Here's NPR's Eleanor Beardsley.
The attack began with missiles that shook the air, followed by the buzzing of Iranian-made drones. Ukraine's air defenses went into high gear. A mass attack on the capital is underway, said Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko on Telegram. Residents get an alert through an app on their telephones, and alarms blare across the city a couple minutes ahead of such attacks. But after 4 years of war, Ukrainians are getting used to it. Foreign journalists, not so much. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Kyiv.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The education advocacy group Community Voices for Public Education is asking Houston ISD students to call out sick today as a way to protest the state takeover of the district. It's the second so-called sick out the group has hosted. Thousands of students participated last year, and the group expects a similar turnout this year. Neely Stewart has a daughter at Durham Elementary School. She says the school has experienced some teacher turnover since the start of the school year.
Her third teacher now is a new teacher, and she's learning how to teach a class. And we had a great teacher before, and so she sees the difference.
HISD has not yet responded to requests for comment. After repeated delays, Houston city officials plan to move forward with an ordinance cracking down on unsafe and unsanitary apartment complexes. They'll hold 2 community meetings in the coming weeks before taking official action in March and April. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports.
The apartment inspection ordinance has been in the works for about 5 years. The most recent proposal would create a registry of high-risk rental buildings based on health and safety violations. Those complexes would be subject to ongoing inspections and fines for continuing violations. But it was delayed in December after city officials raised concerns.
The missing component is the public engagement.
Councilmember Tiffany Thomas chairs the Housing Committee. She says the input so far has been too confined to advocacy groups.
And so when we look at 57 to 60% of Houstonians are renters, there's a broader discussion that must happen.
She expects a final vote by the City Council in late April. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
You can find the meeting times and locations at houstonpublicmedia.org. In sports, the Rockets are now at the midway point of their regular season. They lost to the Los Angeles Clippers 105-102 yesterday. That puts them in fourth place in the Western Conference leading into the All-Star break. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Celeste has the day off, so it's just you and me, my friend.
Oh, we'll make it.
What, you think we'll get
I'll
through
miss
it?
her, though.
Yeah.
Although I've noticed I have on this desk a lot of room to spread out.
You have more space today. Yeah, if folks ever watch us on YouTube, where you can watch us, you'll see that we tend to have our assigned little seats here because of different things we do. But you two are always on that side of the table, and I'm over here with like space to roam always.
Why is that?
Because there's a control panel. And when we started the show, they thought, oh, Ernie should be in control of this more advanced control panel, which I think the only thing I use it for is to hit the cough button when I cough. So I don't know what all these buttons are for, but they're there.
I think the key word was control.
You've known me too long, Franklin.
I've known you a while. Yeah. What a nice day, though.
Yeah, well, things you know. Tell me about that weather out there.
Yeah, you know, the fog didn't last long. And well, you can see this. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see the city camera behind me. Beautiful blue skies. Looks good tomorrow. Temperatures around 80. But then there is this Saturday issue.
You've been dangling this for us.
Well, I mean, it's so weird. It's like beautiful weather today, tomorrow, Sunday. But this Saturday, when everybody has plans, Valentine's Day, people are trying to get to restaurants, parties, whatever they're doing, Mardi Gras, the big parade down at Momus Parade down there. So there's a lot going on Saturday, and there's this front's going to come through.
And it's going to hit in the evening, you were saying,
Well,
too.
it looks like evening is when it's going to push through.
Oh.
So if Galveston can get the parade going at 6, they might have a window from 6 to 8. I'm not giving up on it yet.
You're not. But you were talking about also wind gusts and shear and all that stuff and moving the storm maybe slightly around.
Well, it's going to get caught in the jet stream. So there's a possibility.
That was the word I was looking for.
A lot of the action could happen up to our north, and we get the tail end of it. But the tail end of it can slap you pretty good.
Yeah.
So we've got on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, we're a 1 for thunderstorms.
Oh.
You know, severe weather.
Yeah.
So we're a 1, hail, strong winds, heavy rain. So out of 5, we're not 0.
Yeah.
We're
You keep
1.
talking about, because of the parade down in Galveston, how do things look city proper?
For Galveston City?
No, for Houston.
Oh, for you? No, about the same. I would think that the front would get here in the late afternoon. And by front, I mean the big storms.
See, you know, we should look at it as the positive. Valentine's Day, it might be a little stormy night. You can stay home and cuddle with your love.
Watch heated rivalry. Yeah. My kind of night.
Your kind of night.
Speaking of dates,
okay.
Kevin and I have made this promise to each other that we're going to start going to restaurants we've never been to. Because we're rut eaters.
Theory.
We're rut eaters. We get in a rut. We know what we go to a restaurant. We know what it's going to taste like, what we're going to order, how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. A lot of times they know us, so you get into that rut. But we said no. Once a week we're going to go somewhere we've never been.
Okay.
Last night was Zanti, Z-A-N-T-I, Italian restaurant down from B19 and Hudson House in River Oaks Center.
Okay, and?
It was amazing.
So you liked it. Got
It
a
was
thumbs
beautiful.
up from Frank.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I had Cosmo, little Kettle One Cosmo.
Yeah.
Not everybody can make a Cosmo. A lot of people make them too sweet or too sour.
Mm-hmm.
So to get it right, it's hard to do. They got it right. And then I had this rigatoni tube pasta with sausage and cream, and we had artichoke hearts. It was delicious.
Sounds good.
In fact, I have some. Well, I ate half of everything.
So did you bring it for me?
No, I got lunch. I got lunch waiting on me.
Lucky Frank.
Well, Nicole Joe is saying that the Cron has restaurant newsletters that help learn about a lot of new places.
See, I love the idea of finding a new restaurant to go to and doing that. We're in a city with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to places to dine. But I always, at the last minute, fall back into the places I know.
I know.
I'm a creature of comfort.
So we're not doing it every night. Monday is still Damaris night.
Still the ones you're used to going to.
But we're cooking more, so we're cooking on Tuesday.
Yeah, I do. Pandemic changed me into a cooking at home more. So last night, while you were out enjoying a new restaurant, I rolled back out the electric pizza oven because I got all different kinds of pizza gadgets, and we made homemade pizza. And,
you're a good
thin
cook.
crust this time. Yeah,
you're a good cook.
Well, some people say I'm a good cook. Other people don't like my cooking. I don't like those people, so they don't.
I've had your dinners before. They're delicious.
I'm a good cook. Anyway, a lot's cooking here today. What have we got coming up on the show?
We're going to find out more about the Garden Oaks Theater.
Beautiful theater.
It is. Well, the River Oaks Theater, which is sort of across from, it's not really across from Zanti, but it's it's catty corner to Zanti.
Yep.
It's had its moments of about to be torn down.
Mm-hmm. Well, the group that came together that saved the River Oaks has set their sights now on the Garden Oaks Theater.
They better hurry.
And the deal is, it is the sister theater. We'll learn all about
it's
this.
It's a beautiful
to the
old
River
theater.
Oaks. They were made by the same architect and built at the same time. So
they look exactly like.
They should be saved together. We'll find out more about that and a whole lot more on today's show. But
let's get some headlines.
Headlines. Celeste isn't here, so guess who has to start your headlines?
You.
I'm starting them off. Okay. Listen to this. Nearly 8 in 10 Houston residents say their wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. That's according to a new University of Houston survey. About 78% of respondents listed lagging pay among their top 3 economic concerns. The survey, which compared more than 700 Houston residents with Chicago counterparts, also found that widespread concerns over affordability, inequality, and job opportunities, even though Houston's overall cost of living remains lower than in other big cities. For many here, the struggle to make ends meet puts economic pressure front and center as household budgets tighten. So, what's your greatest concern about living in Houston? Is it the high cost of living, job availability, wealth disparity? Share with us your woes. 713-440-8870.
I'd say housing is tough. The rental market.
Yeah.
If you're going to rent a nice 1-bedroom, 1-bath in a safe place, and that's all relative, I suppose, it's going to cost you $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And not so long ago it was half that. But it's the rental costs have really gone up.
Rental prices are expensive, but the whole point of salaries keeping up with cost of living. And with the argument that, there is no inflation, we all feel it.
But Arnie, don't you think, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
It seems like
you may continue.
It seems like our lifestyle always expands to our income.
Yeah.
So, because we all, if you're making
water in a container, we always spread out to fill it.
Well, I remember as a young weatherman, I was paid good old broadcast wages, which were very low. And I think I started at $13,000 a year. And to put it in perspective, my friends were making 16, 17.
Okay.
So anyway, but you always say, well, when I'm making 26,000, boy, I'm going to save so well. I'm going to do so. I could live. If I could live on 13, I could certainly live on 26. You get to 26, and it's like, let's get a new car.
Yeah. Well, you spend what you have.
But I wonder how much of that is taking place where people are getting their 3% raise or maybe better, hopefully, and saying, well, we can now do this or do that.
And that, of course, getting a raise and being able to enjoy that extra money and building out that way is great when it can happen. Unfortunately, so many in our community are barely making enough to be able to meet the costs of living. And when you think about often a lot of jobs giving minimum wage or service industry jobs and stuff, which may not benefit from either good tips or, as we said, the cost of living. It's harder and harder. You look at how much you were talking about going out to dinner.
Yeah.
A dinner bill at a restaurant is so much higher than it used to be. And you think about people who are working at a minimum wage job, they couldn't do that. That becomes out of reach. And it keeps building this divide community-wise among people. So it's not just an economic problem. It's a cultural problem that we face. And it continues to make that shift.
I hate to say the word tariffs, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, something's happening out there that's changed in the last year. And tariffs are going to certainly put some strain on costs of food, and where you're getting all restaurants serve coffee. Coffee, $15 for just a half thing of coffee now.
Yeah,
and at Target, and they're serving coffee. They're going to have to charge $5 or $6 a cup just to make ends meet with coffee.
Yeah,
and that's a simple example. Avocados, especially in Houston, they've gone up. So many different prices have really skyrocketed. I think that has a lot to do with the restaurant business. And then cost of construction have gone up. So any new apartment buildings have to make up for that. So I think the tariffs...
But I think also what makes it uncomfortable for people in the community is you hear about these things and you hear about prices have to go up, and then you see major corporations and huge benefits, but huge, what's the word I'm looking for? Grosses over the year, and that their profits are so high and that their executives are paid so much. And you think to yourself, but I thought the reason we're paying more money is because it costs more. So how is the high-end end of it making more money? How are these industries having so much higher profits? Earl Grey T-Cat says, rents were so cheap 15 years ago. The rich keep trying to tell us we're imagining inflation and raising costs.
Well, we have a call. Christina from Montrose is on the line. Hi, Christina. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
What are you thinking?
So what I'm thinking is childcare costs, because I just finished doing my taxes for the previous year and looking at childcare costs for the previous year, and just for daycare alone, it was $20,000, and we didn't even have her full time. And when you think about what you get for tax credit, $2,000, $2,500 for a kid, and then maybe an additional $600 for additional support, it just doesn't add up for a family of one child, and we're trying to have a second.
Absolutely. I know people that are working in order to pay the daycare bill. And you think, well, why don't they just stay at home? Because they're working for the insurance benefits.
Yeah.
And they're like, the only reason I'm working is for insurance because all my money goes to daycare. And as she said, the affordability of health care. It's ridiculous.
Christina, thank you for your call, and we hear you. I'm in a comfortable position at a job I have. If my mom didn't have the right insurance, I would be in dire straits because of the health care costs and her daycare she needs. And so I think about that for families with children and all of that stuff. My partner, his mother's in a nursing home, and they're paying $6,500 a month. There are much more expensive ones. There are some lower. She's in a nice home, but if she didn't have the insurance and the money saved up, it would have crippled him too.
Yeah, my mom too. When she was alive, she was in an assisted living.
Sean writes in, abolish the minimum wage. There's an argument going on.
Well, if you abolish the minimum wage, you don't have a minimum. You got to have some minimum wage.
Well, I
just say raise the minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, tell us more on your thoughts behind abolishing the minimum wage. There's two different ways you can go on that. I'm curious where you were directing your thoughts on it. Eves, Texas says, the main reason I don't go and try a lot of new restaurants is just because it's not economically feasible. I'd rather stick with something I know to be good than worry about wasting a dinner out. I agree with you there.
But I'm safe with somewhere like Zonti. It's been there a long time. It gets good reviews on Open Table, and I've known a number of people that have gone. So I'm not just like throwing a dart and saying, okay, let's go here. Yeah. I do pay attention to reviews and recommendations.
Our number one commenter as of today on our YouTubers, that's my British computer guy, says you can't abolish the minimum wage. There has to be a floor.
But it has to be higher than it is. What is it, $7.45 or something? it's ridiculous that it is as low as it is.
So what are your thoughts on this topic? Let us know. Either comment over here in the YouTube chat or give us a call or text 713-440-8870.
Eve says my safe restaurant is Katz Deli.
Katz's never closes.
And I've been to Katz, but it has been a long, long time. I need to go back.
Yeah.
Yes. And
okay, take us to the next story. This is one that had me going yesterday.
Okay, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Do you see some of that?
I watched a whole lot of it.
They scorched her, I think. Oh, well, it says heated questioning in the script. She faced heated questioning. Frank Billingsley says it was scorching. The Democrats really went all out against the Justice Department's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. That was the House hearing yesterday. She just refused to give straightforward answers, leaving many of the lawmakers frustrated. Democratic members of the House Judiciary Committee accused Bondi of orchestrating a cover-up by redacting the identities of many people whose names appeared in the more than 3 million pages of Epstein documents that the department released last month. They also harshly criticized the department for failing to redact the names of survivors of Epstein's abuse, some of whom were present in the hearing room. Bondi repeatedly sidestepped Democrats' questions, dismissing their inquiries as theatrics and calling the hearing a circus. She frequently answered with questions of her own, asking the Democrats why they had not raised their concerns during previous administrations and attacking them on personal terms. So what are your thoughts? Was this a partisan attack? I don't know. I think it was a partisan attack because the Democrats have nothing to lose and the Republicans don't have the guts to ask the questions they should be asking for fear of retaliation from President Trump, to be honest. She would say it was crazy. It's like, let's talk about the Dow Jones and your 401ks. Look how well Trump has that going. And that's true. Right. But let's forget about the abuse and the survivors.
That's the part that bothered me in watching it back, and that nobody said it, or if they did, I missed it, where two things can exist at the same time. You can do well on the Dow Jones. You can do something financially well, and you can also be aiding and abetting a criminal in another crime. It's not like if one happens, the other disappears.
True.
And I was so tired of her burn book, as I think it was Jamie Raskin called it. I may be crediting it to the wrong member of Congress, but that they would ask her a question and she would pull out then something that happened in their state about some illegal immigrant who had done a crime.
Yeah. You're all washed up, Senator.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yes, but more than one thing can happen at once. There can be a problem in a state where some illegal immigrant or undocumented person has committed a crime, and that can be wrong. But you can also not be releasing full documentation of what happened in the Epstein file. You can be creating an environment in which you go after undocumented folks in a way that is inhuman. Those can all exist at once.
Well, what you're referring to is an ad hominem argument.
Yeah.
When you just focus on something else because you don't want to talk about what's at hand. Braden Arnold says the worst parts were her refusing to even look at the survivors and apologize. And to advance that one of the questioners asked the survivors to stand up, asked how many of them had contacted the Justice Department, all of them. How many have gotten a response from the Justice Department? None of them. Do you want to apologize for that? She wouldn't even say that she was sorry. She wouldn't even say, you know what, we're working on it. She gave
because they're not.
No,
you know?
I know.
And I'm at a point, and it was interesting, I'm trying to remember which congressperson it was basically saying the rules here are you are coming before Congress to testify, to answer our questions. You are not here to grill us about what we're doing. Have a hearing if you want to grill us on it, but you're here for a purpose, and she was not answering those questions. Now, I'm sure there are folks listening right now who thought she handled herself appropriately in the environment in which she was in. And if you are one of those people, I would love to hear from you. 713-440-8870. I don't want to just give a one-sided argument, but right now I'm only seeing stuff that supports one side of feeling like she was not participating faithfully and honestly with the hearing she was involved in.
I think she had an audience of one, and we know who that one is. And as long as she looks good to him, then she's done.
Yep.
Anyway, some of our comments, so much deflection. Another, the economy doing well is in no way an excuse to shield people that need to be investigated. And we'll end it on this. Braden Arnold says, and her accusing Jewish Rep. Billett, whose grandfather died in the Holocaust, of being anti-Semitic. that is a little over the top.
Yeah, I just, they've got to take down the temperature, whatever the expression is. It's gotten out of hand, and we all know that. I mean, even saying it is kind of ridiculous anymore. What's coming up next, Frank?
Well, can we save the Garden Oaks Theater?
There's something maybe we can do.
Do you think?
We'll find out.
I don't know. The seats are already coming out, but we'll find out for sure what's going on. This is News 88.7.
Metro is introducing a brand new fare system to the Houston region. Say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro fare system will replace the old Metro Q fare card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. You'll be able to buy Ride Metro cards at all Metro ride stores, ticket vending machines, order online, and from a growing network of retailers throughout the region. When it comes to moving about Houston, we want you to choose Metro. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
Having a refrigerator with all the bells and whistles might sound like a dream, but some people think appliances are getting too fancy.
And I started to notice myself longing for like the plain white box of the older models.
I'm Kristen Schwab. Why appliance makers keep churning out newfangled fridges. Next time on Marketplace.
Marketplace is coming up at 6:30 on News 88.7.
Your doctor might take weeks to diagnose a complicated set of symptoms when AI can do it in seconds.
If you present cases in a particular way for these AIs, they are almost superhuman in the way that they go about coming to the right diagnosis.
The role of AI in medicine, that's next time on Think.
You can listen to Think, that's on tonight at 10 p.m. Ellen Benninghoven and Dr. Michael Schaefer, proud sponsors of Houston Matters with Craig Cohen. Tune in Monday through Friday at 9 on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston system, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Local preservationists are concerned that the Garden Oaks Theater will meet the same fate as other historic Houston theaters, such as the Granada or the Capitol Theater, or Captain Theater, I should say, which were torn down and demolished. The Garden Oaks Theater was recently sold to a private group, and the team that helped save the River Oaks Theater is now urging local leaders to help preserve this historic site. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome Maureen McNamara, co-founder and director of Arthouse Houston. Maureen, welcome.
Thank you.
I kind of got all tangled up in your title there, but
good to see you.
I do too. So.
Yeah, what a thankless job, right?
No, it's incredibly thankful when they win.
Well, tell you what. Okay, what's set
the
stage?
River Oaks is a shining example of.
I remember
the good
when
days.
it was about to be torn down. So where does the Garden Theater? First of all, tell people where it is. I mean, Garden Oaks, I know, but
right,
it's in a little strip center.
Yes, it's in a little, what was a little strip center on North Shepherd. It's the tower marquee was changed to say Choice Church when it was sold to the church several years ago, and the church has since sold it to the investors.
So do we know who the investment group is? Do we know who's developing the area? Is it the same group that had interest in the River Oaks or not?
It's not the same group. Okay. What we've been able to find is information about a posting that says that with the city clerk's or county clerk's office that says that Heights Equity Trust purchased the theater from the church, and they seem to be a partner with a group called Sage Equity Partners.
And do we know what their plan is for the space?
Well, we've heard with 1 degree of separation, because people aren't returning my calls so far. We've heard with 1 degree of separation that the plan is to demolish the theater and work on a strip center development.
So did they own or did they buy the whole strip center?
Yes.
Okay, so they just want to get rid of all of
parking
it.
Garage and parking lot. Yeah.
So before we get into I'll use a frank term, the nuts and bolts of it all, talk a little bit about the importance of preserving these old theaters and why it's something that's a passion of yours.
Well, that's kind of like an onion, lots of layers to that. So I'm a artist and filmmaker, and I also grew up and spent my informative years at the River Oaks Theater. I started popping popcorn there when I was in high school at HSPVA many, many years ago. And I ended up opening and operating historic theaters mostly around the country. I think I worked on over 50 historic theaters.
But why is it important for us as a community?
Oh, as a community. Okay. So, nobody really has a feeling that their city has a soul when they drive by a Target store. I'm happy that Target is got a place Target has a place in the world, but I think that what gives a city a soul is the arts, the architecture, the individual kind of it's the kind of stuff that makes a city special. You know, when you look at, what is fabulous about Houston, the things that draw you are the things that are, unique, that stand out from any other city.
Well, I always thought that the Alabama Theater was just fabulous as a bookstore, and now, of course, it's Trader Joe's. So would you be happy if the Garden Oaks Theater was turned into something other than a theater? Because it can't make money as it is as a theater.
Well, let me correct you on that.
Okay, I'm all for that. But what are you going to show? One movie there?
Let me correct you on that. So with my work over the years, working with historic theaters, we worked on how to make those theaters
profitable,
thrive. Yes. And the River Oaks, before the pandemic, was thriving. It was doing well. The problem was that the landlord was trying to redevelop that property to put a high-rise there, and that really made an environment where they didn't want to do things like replace the roof that needed to be replaced and take care of a variety of different issues. So, but the truth is that there are all kinds of ways to make the theater thrive. Most historic theaters around the country now are operated by nonprofit organizations or have nonprofit organizations involved in their operations, maybe some kind of partnership with a university or with kind of a public-private relationship. So, and their situation, I mean, the River Oaks is doing it by, in a couple of different ways, by doing great programming, live performance stuff, which a community arts center that is, supported really as part of the community, is a nonprofit organization, could help the theater to survive and thrive as not just a magnet for the property, but also for
Okay, but let me get back to my
community.
original question. Would you be happy if the Garden Oaks Theater were turned into a grocery store or a bookstore or something
Keeping
that
the
was
facade.
something that wasn't artistic necessarily?
I would be. I would not be happy. No, I would not be happy.
Right.
Happy
Would you be
is not the
happier?
word. Happy's not happier is not really the word. So, I'd like to point out that the Village Theater, when the village was redeveloped, they kept the marquee, they kept the tower, and now it's nowhere to be found. It's gone. So over time, it's very easy to disappear things that people don't have a community connection to. So, and I'm not saying that, as a bookstore, yes, there is the repurposing that is better than the demolition, in the bookstore, put some effort into developing the space in a way that it could be converted back to a theater originally. But then when Trader Joe's ended up coming in, they actually leveled the floors and made that a lot less possible. I love Trader Joe's.
I want to jump in and remind everyone we're talking with Maureen McNamara, who is with Arthouse Houston, about their efforts to preserve the River Oaks, the Garden Oaks, I should say, theater.
The other Oaks.
The other Oaks, and they're sister theaters.
They are.
So they were designed same time, same designer?
Well, a few years later, the Garden Oaks is the younger sister. But yes, they're designed by the same architect, Texas architect, Pettigrew and Worley, and they, when you walk in, it's unmistakable. The streamline Art Deco design is clearly, it's clearly
If you're watching
the
on
sister.
YouTube, I think we have some pictures we're popping up of the theater so folks can see it.
Fabulous.
I also want to say, though, I would think two things. First of all, I think the River Oaks preservation and the way you folks want to buy it about it and what we end up having now should be a shining example to other communities how you can save a theater and how it does work.
Exactly.
The other
And
side of it
culinary
is, though,
concepts involvement in that. Yeah.
The other side of it being, though, the River Oaks had been operating as a theater all the way up until the time when it closed, and then you guys got it reopened and saved it. That isn't the story of the Garden Oaks. Does that make it more challenging to get a community behind it? Because it's not that the community is losing their theater. They're losing a space that was working as a church for a while.
Right. So it's a little bit heavier lift, I think. I think that it's because you don't have the immediate burning platform feeling of loss, right? So I think that what we're hoping for is that, there is a fair amount of community positive memory for the theater, but there is also this feeling of possibility and seeing, how, as you said, seeing how successful that vision of what the River Oaks could be actually,
Well, have you talked to the church folks that are selling it?
They already sold it.
They've already sold it.
Well, they know who they sold it to. Go to them and say, who'd you sell it to? We need to contact them.
We did have that conversation.
Yeah, how'd it go?
And they said that it was to a shopping center developer. And then I didn't get a response on who it was, except they weren't really sure. And so I got the information on who it was by looking at the county clerk's
Did it surprise you?
office
churches are one of those structures. We don't tear down churches. We
Right.
revere them and keep them for a long time, as long as they'll stand.
Right.
And yet these church folks didn't feel the same way about the theater.
Well, they, I wouldn't say they didn't care about the theater. I think they did. They were just not well versed in how you can work with preservation and historic designation to help save historic property. So the theater, like every building of that age, has not in a dangerous way, but has in its bones has asbestos insulation, because that's part of the way that things were built at a certain time. And they said that the reason that they, I'll say in air quotes, had to let the theater go was because it would cost $1 million to abate the asbestos. Well, when you get historic designation for a building, you can get up to 45% tax credits for doing preservation type work. And yes, things like asbestos abatement, when they're part of a larger renovation restoration project, do count as.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off
No, go ahead.
mid-thought there, but historic designation, what do we have on that right now? And if something like that would save or not save?
Right. So there's nothing active right now in the city. There are city designations, there are state designations, and there are federal designations. It's kind of complicated. But when you hear that something is nationally designated, it doesn't mean that it's protected. Mm-hmm. So this is a difficult and challenging, important piece of the puzzle. The only designations that allow for protections of a property are city designations. And the Houston City Preservation ordinances exist, but they're more recent, and they don't have the same teeth that other cities have. So, and they, in theory, can only be applied for by an owner.
So you folks couldn't apply for it. It would have to be the
not.
development.
Well, I want to get to where the rubber meets the road here. Are you going to be able to save it?
I say yes, but we just have to have, we have to have a lot of people standing up and sounding the alarm, and like you guys are, supporting the cause. We also have to help the investment firm understand that this could be a great magnet for their property, for their
You were talking
center.
about River Oaks Theater has anchored that shopping area there and
Yes.
really encouraged all the other development happening around it.
Yes,
So
like,
it is actually a
look at-
motivator.
Right. And look at that. Look at every real estate listing in the neighborhood, and it's got photos of the interior and exterior of a property, and they also have photos of the River Oaks Theater. It's an anchor for the neighborhood and for that shopping center.
The other part of this that's so important right now is that earlier this week you've had reports that they're already tearing out the inside infrastructure. So
Yes.
we're at a pivotal moment.
Yes, and I would say that the family that did sell the property to the church many years ago, they operated the theater for over 20 years, and they had the husband and wife had pressed their hands into the concrete in front of the building, and the family members wanted to know if they could take that concrete slab out, and so they contacted the church. The church said, you need to get in there this weekend, meaning last weekend, because demolition efforts are going to start next week, this week.
Well, you have a fan from Katie Cregan Rios. I guess you know her.
Yay, Katie.
Yeah, from the Houston Cinema Art Society, saying the work you're doing to advocate for historic cinema spaces in Houston is so important. I hear all the time how much we need more space in Houston to show independent films. River Oaks is a great space, but it's only one theater. We need more vibrant cultural spaces for film and art. So thank you, Maureen, for everything you do.
And thank you, Katie. for everything you do. She's such a part of it.
We need more spaces, but you got to do them one at a time. And this is the one that's on the docket right now. We got a text in that says, what the developers did to the Village is a travesty. There are several success stories about transforming old theaters into specialty theaters in Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
So this isn't something unique to us.
Oh no,
but some have found solutions.
It's all over the country. I'm telling you that historic theaters that are special spaces are being saved in other cities by this kind of effort.
If people want to get involved, how can they help? How can their voices be
How do
heard
we
in this
stand
manner?
up, Maureen?
Okay.
How do we save the theater?
Well, today, this week, and in the coming time, please go to www.savegardenoakstheater.org, and there you'll see a listing of the new purchasers, the city council person for the theater, though every city council person can be involved, as many were.
So they need to write letters.
And to Mayor Turner. Mayor Turner was involved at River Oaks. Mayor Whitmire here at this time. So
let's see what we can do out there. Thank you very much for coming in.
Maureen McNamara is Arthouse Houston's executive director. Thank you for coming on. Give us an update when you have one.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I can't wait.
All right.
www.savegardenoakstheater.org.
That's right.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Coming up, we're going to talk to a multi-talented Houston Texans cheerleader. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro Fare System will replace the old Metro Q Fare Card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
Or both, your ongoing donations of at least $5 per month qualify for PBS Passport. Make your gift now to start watching at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week we have Food and Feelings with Jarrell Guy's new cookbook that helps us take care of ourselves when we need a boost. Also, food writer B. Wilson sheds light on the emotional lives of kitchen tools. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8, a night of mystery and intrigue with Father Brown at 7, followed by the Sister Boniface Mysteries at 8 and Death in Paradise at 9. Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8.
On the next snap, prepare to catch a fever. When you're kissing, a fever when you're holding tight, fever in the morning, and fever all through the night. We begin the new Snap Fever series, How Will I Know? Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
You listen to Snap Judgment. It's on Saturday at 8 p.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro Fare System replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Well, these days it's common for people to juggle between two or more different jobs. Our next guest balances between two very different roles that most wouldn't typically associate with one another. HTC Kelly is by day a postdoctoral researcher at Rice University who is studying how stress and emotion shape an individual's health. but on nights and weekends, she's on a football field as a Houston Texans cheerleader. To tell us more about how she balances these dual roles, we welcome HTC Kelly. We're glad to have you here. How are you today?
Good morning. How are y'all? I'm doing great.
We're doing great too. I tell you what, this is very juxtaposed in terms of I guess lifestyle as well as work. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did you get to be a cheerleader and then go into doctorate studies, or the other way around?
So I kind of knew I wanted to do both at the same time. I went to graduate school at TCU, and I knew that I also wanted to pursue professional cheerleading. Specifically, my goal was the NFL. And then during kind of the COVID times, I was able to start looking into which teams I could audition for because you could submit videos. I kind of fell in love with the Texans organization. So I was getting my doctorate while I was training, and I was on a semi-professional team in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to kind of help get performance experience and get ready for auditions. And I actually made the team when I still had 1 year left in my doctorate work. And so I actually went back and forth between Houston and Fort Worth for my entire rookie season, which honestly was such a blessing to be able to do and a great story to tell now. But yeah, so now I'm a postdoc at Rice and still cheering.
Okay, many of us of a certain age are going to think back to the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders television movie about what it was like to be a cheerleader. It seemed to take up all of their time, was extremely stressful, and a lot of work. Is there reality in the stories we hear about what it takes to be a cheerleader, or does it have, in today's day and age, a more balanced work schedule?
I definitely think that there's balance because, I mean, I can speak for our team. Everybody on our team has a lot of roles. Like there's a lot of duality in what we do. We have moms on the team. We have business owners, teachers, like dance teachers and school teachers. We've had flight attendants. Tons of different jobs. We have an orthodontist. She's just finished her residency. So I'm not the only doctor on the team. We have full-time students as well and graduate students on the team. So honestly, everyone does such a great job of balancing. And I can only speak for our organization, but I think that there's enough flexibility in our cheer kind of role. We know, when things are going to be mandatory, we have those things in our schedule and we kind of work around that. And our practices are held at night. So typically not when people are working anyway. And hopefully on Sundays, people can either, if they work, they ask off. We know, all the way up to like May, we find out what the NFL schedules are. So we can plan.
How does that work? Are you only in when in season, or
Yeah,
is
is
this
it all
something
year?
yearly? How does that balance out?
It's all year. So we have a lot of appearances that we do out in the community. That's kind of actually, I'd say, almost a bigger part of what we do. Like you see us on Sundays and we do a lot of practices, but we're out in the community doing school events. We're doing partner events with like the Texans partners. A lot of different types of appearances. We've gone to like military bases with the players and Texans media. So it's a variety of different things, but all of that's happening throughout the year. So there's a lot of appearances coming up in February.
So I don't want to pry, but can someone make a living being just a cheerleader for the Texans?
We are compensated fairly,
Yes.
but I would say that none of us just only want to do one thing anyway, because cheerleading is not, as much as we would love it to be, it's not a long-term career, right? Eventually, with dancing, with any athletic kind of job, that's going to become harder at some point, but we have had people do it into their 30s and even beyond in the NFL world. So it's kind of up to you. But so we all have our different career paths.
Oh, to be in my 30s again.
To be in your 40s again.
I'll take the 50s, Ernie.
Yeah. When we talk about your doctoral studies, too, I wonder, are you your own study in some ways? Because if you balance, you're looking at stress and emotion and how it shapes one's health. And then you look at the stress that you're put under because you are in the performing arts field, too. And there is the attention that's put on you and all that. And I'm sure the stress comes with that. Does what you study in your studies help you in your life in that aspect?
That's interesting. A little bit. I have thought about this, but I guess I don't think of cheerleading as something that is stressful in a negative way. I mean, if we're going to get down to it, we have like sympathetic nervous system activity when your adrenaline's up and you're performing, right? But I don't necessarily look at that as a stressor in a negative way when it comes to my emotions, because I have a lot of like positive affect and positively valenced emotions surrounding cheer. I mean, I guess there is the stress of juggling, but everyone has that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's specific to cheer. But I do love the moments when I get to talk about, if someone's nervous out in the tunnel before we go out onto the field, like a rookie on the team maybe, and they're like, I'm feeling kind of nervous. I'm like, don't worry, that's normal and that's good. You want your sympathetic nervous system activity to be up because you're going to have some norepinephrine going on. That's your adrenaline, your noradrenaline. You need that to get your best performance out on the field. If you're not feeling nervous, you're actually not going to hit your peak performance.
That's a good point. We're talking with Rice University postdoctoral researcher and Houston, Texas cheerleader, HTC Kelly. If you'd like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. We have an interesting question from Alex on YouTube. Who are some of the people, mentors, family, teammates, who've really lifted you up the most on this journey?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So many people come to mind. Of course, firstly, my parents. They've always been supportive of every journey that I've been on since I was young. I've done multiple sports. I've had a lot of dance mentors along the way, a lot of coaches that have helped me get to this spot. Also, I'll shout out my principal investigators at TCU, my bosses at TCU. They were really supportive of me going on this journey, making the team, and still juggling, coming back and forth to finish that PhD, because a lot of my work was in person. And then my current situation, my professors at Rice, my boss at Rice, they're very supportive. I have a very supportive lab environment. And then my teammates and my coach, everyone at the Texans we just have such a supportive kind of family style environment. And I'm really lucky that our culture is so healthy, because it really motivates you to keep going and then to bring your best to everything that you do.
In looking at life balance and all of this and stress reduction, I'm curious, when you're in season and you've got games and you're away and stuff, are you able to distance learning, or has the schedule worked with school and your studies, or are you free of having to have a set schedule to be somewhere and you just submit work?
So I guess my research now, it kind of sounds like it would be schoolwork, but it's less like school and more like it's writing, it's doing data analysis, it's working with samples that we have collected. So there's some more flexibility. Being a postdoc, you have a little bit more autonomy and you can control your schedule a little bit, especially because I have a grant from the NIH, so I'm able to do that. And then we also don't travel to away games, so we're not cheering there, because at those games, those home teams have their cheerleaders cheering. So we would just do appearances maybe leading up to that game, and we have flexibility to choose when we can put in our availability for appearances. So,
well, HTC Kelly, you are breaking stereotypes, that is for sure. Very quickly, what's your 5-word advice to other young people who would like to pursue something like this?
Go for it.
Don't
doubt yourself. Go for it.
I love it.
Because I know it's easy to doubt yourself, but just go for it.
All you can do is try again, right? HTC Kelly is a postdoctoral researcher at Rice University and a Houston Texans cheerleader. Thank you so much for being on Hello Houston today. We loved having you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. All right, we'll continue to discuss the top headlines of the day and also talk with jazz trumpeter, vocalist, and composer Jumaane Smith. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
On Fresh Air, you'll hear conversations with entertaining people like Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson,
I gave him one take, one sound, one voice, and that was it. Blah, 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 blah. And Matt, his eyebrows went up, his tongue came out of his mouth. He's like, oh my God, that's him, that's Bart, that's him. You got the part.
The most interesting people in show business tell their stories on Fresh Air.
Fresh Air, weekdays at 8 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from St. Arnold Brewing Company, a place for corporate events on tap, meeting rooms, AV equipment, and full catering available. More at starnold.com.
It's going to be a mostly sunny day with our high getting up to 79. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Harris County is seeking a temporary restraining order against the federal government to halt FEMA layoffs. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top headlines. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also talk with Jim Morris, founder, executive director, and editor-in-chief of Public Health Watch, who will break down a new report highlighting pollution in Texas.
Plus, jazz trumpeter, vocalist, and composer Jumaane Smith will tell us all about his Hobby Center concert, Love Always, celebrating the romance of Nat King Cole.
And we want to hear the romance from you. Give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Minnesota's political leaders are expressing relief at news that the Trump administration plans to end 6 weeks of a federal immigration surge in the Twin Cities. Hours after border czar Tom Homan announced the operation was a success and would wind down, Democratic Governor Tim Walz talks about what comes next for communities bearing the battle scars of sweeping immigration raids, mass protests, and the loss of 2 Americans who opposed the federal campaign.
They left us with deep damage, generational trauma. They left us with economic ruin in some cases. They left us with many unanswered questions. Where are our children? Where and what is the process of the investigations into those that were responsible for the deaths of Renee and Alex?
Governor Walz referencing the deaths of Renee Macklin Good and weeks later Alex Preddy. They were both fatally shot during encounters with federal immigration agents last month and ignited national outcry over DHS's enforcement tactics. The administration is expected to announce rollbacks in policies dealing with climate change. NPR's Jeff Brady reports the White House says the EPA's actions are part of the largest deregulatory effort in U.S. history.
The Environmental Protection Agency found in 2009 that greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels endanger public health. The agency then regulated climate pollution from cars, power plants, and the oil and gas industry. But now the Trump EPA says that's illegal and wants to rescind what's called the endangerment finding. Jill Tauber with Earth Justice spoke outside EPA headquarters in Washington.
We've defended the endangerment finding before, and we will do it again. So we will see the Trump administration in court. Thank you.
Tauber says the 2009 endangerment finding was based on scientific evidence that's even more robust now. Jeff Brady, NPR News.
We're seeing rare scenes of celebrations at the Gaza border crossing with Egypt after a year of full closure. NPR's Anas Baba reports reunions are taking place under tight Israeli restrictions.
In southern Gaza, celebratory music rises in the air. Hassan Zannoun is 28. He has waited 3 years to see his bride again. Nearby, a father wraps his arms around his wife and the 5 kids he hasn't held in 2 years. But these reunions are few and far between. Israel said 150 medical patients would be allowed to leave Gaza each day and 50 people permitted to enter. Medical officials in Gaza say only about a quarter of those patients scheduled to depart actually made it out. At Rafah, policy is calculated in figures. For families here, it's counted in years apart. Anas Baba, NPR News, Gaza City.
You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Harris County is now part of a lawsuit to stop the dismantling of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The aim is to cut 50% of the FEMA workforce this year. Harris County Attorney Jonathan Frombon said that the federal layoffs affect the county's finances and its own ability to respond to local disasters. More than 10,000 FEMA positions are expected to be eliminated in the coming months, according to the county attorney's office. Houston city officials will host 2 community meetings in the coming weeks about a proposed ordinance that would crack down on unsafe and unsanitary apartment complexes. Councilmember Martha Castex-Tatum says they're primarily interested in hearing from tenants.
But we also want to hear from those good operators about best practices so that we can encourage those properties that may be struggling or having difficulties on their properties and give them some suggestions on how they can be better landlords so that we are getting it right for the folks that live in our city.
They hope to pass the ordinance in late April. You can find more information at houstonpublicmedia.org. For the first time in more than 50 years, NASA is expected to return to the moon. The Artemis 2 mission will bring 4 astronauts into space where they will orbit the moon and return to Earth in 10 days. Here's astronaut Christina Cook, who will be the first woman to go to the moon.
We can actually learn more about solar system formation, more about how planets form maybe around other stars, more about the likelihood of life out there, starting with studying the moon.
And it's Houston's Johnson Space Center that will navigate the mission. Find out how on News 88.7 In Depth this afternoon on All Things Considered. For the first time in 5 years, the Astros will have a new opening day starter. Hunter Brown says he was given the news when he showed up to the first day of spring training.
I was in the building for like 20 seconds. So I was like, man, how did I already manage to upset the manager in that amount of time? So, no, but yeah, really exciting. It was a big deal for me.
Former Astros pitcher Framber Valdez was the opening day starter the past 4 years. Opening day is in 42 days. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Welcome back. Our fans, our listeners.
I'll go with fans.
Fans on YouTube,
fans
our YouTubers, they are on to us. They have noticed that we did not mention Obsessions, our weekly Obsessions, which we usually do on Thursday. And they're like, wait, they didn't mention it, but they're still giving them. We have a very full show today, and so when we get to our last segment, we really didn't have time for Obsessions this week. But we can talk about them right now because we have one, Eves, Texas. I think I'm saying that right. Fallout Season 2 is their obsession. They finished it, and it is, quote, nearly perfect.
Oh, we're all about The Pit with Noah Wiley.
I didn't watch it, haven't watched it, and then I just thought, you know what? I need to start watching it. People are really taken with it. What are you thinking, Frank?
About
The Pit.
Oh.
You're the one who brought it up.
Oh, no, I thought I told you I love it.
You loved it? Yeah.
I think it's some of Noah Wiley's best work.
Yeah.
It all takes place in one day. So you'll have 15 episodes. The first one's from 6 to 7 in the morning. The second one's 7 to 8, 8 to 9. So what it's like to be in an emergency room in a big city, Pittsburgh, all day, from morning to noon to night, and what they're going through with the trauma cases, and it's really fascinating. And from what I understand, it's pretty true to life. So you got to think, Ernie, because you're a theater movie guy. The actors have to wear the same clothes,
right?
For the whole season, have the same haircuts, hide any acne that shows up. They have to look the same all day long, and it takes them however long to film the whole season. But it's pretty brilliant.
There was another show.
HBO Max.
24. Remember 24?
Yeah.
They did that all was one day. It was that 24 hours. Though those hours got a bit ridiculous. What could happen in an hour on that show? But and then I remember back many years ago, it was a show called Murder One. And the big deal about Murder One was it was going to be a single case for the whole season. It came out around the same time as those big high-end attention-getting court cases, the Menendez brothers and OJ and all that stuff. And so they were watching people watch a court case all the way through. So they did it. Now that's a pretty common practice to have one mystery stretched out over a series. Right. But back then, that was the first one. And so I'm happy to hear the Pit does that in a day format.
CBS had 48 hours. Remember they had that sort of a real-time news thing?
Yeah, it used to have that theme to it more than it evolved into just more magazine-y. But yeah, okay, let's see. We have another one. And I don't even know how to say Anne's full screen name there, but obsessed with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Egg is adorable. That's that.
Is that the character?
Yes, that's the Game of Thrones prequel from 100 years ago, but it's a much simpler storyline than like the sprawling.
Is that the dragons that fly and burn everybody?
That's Game of Thrones, yeah.
It's pretty good. I like that one.
Yeah.
Then my other obsession I told you about is finding the right restaurant for our once a week.
Right.
Go
You're
out.
obsessed with that. So how do you find
you
them?
got to find out. You don't want to make a mistake. You got to find a good restaurant.
As one of our YouTubers said earlier, you don't want to go out to something new because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. So you have to do the research. So I'm obsessed with finding the right restaurant. So if people have suggestions, I'm more than happy to hear them. Just where two guys can go and have a martini and
but if you were recommending to folks how to research restaurants because you're doing it, where do you look? Who do you turn to or search for to see their reactions to know that's a place you would like?
Well, usually Open Table has a little bit on it. You can find reviews there sometimes, and then word of mouth and friends of mine. And in fact, I saw George Lancaster at Zante last night. He goes there all the time. It's like his neighborhood home.
Yeah.
So, word of mouth has a lot to do with it.
Word of mouth. Right now, I'm obsessed with, I guess I'm in the early stages of Eurovision obsession, watching the different countries pick their songs.
I love you for that, but I think that's the worst thing ever.
You don't know it. You cannot decide it.
What happened to the winner last year? That
Big
kid.
Star.
Is he really? What's his name?
Big Star. We're not talking about him today.
Exactly.
But
it's like
ABBA
Star Search.
ABBA won once. Celine Dion won once. You've heard of those names.
That was the 70s and the 80s, and nobody's gotten popular since then.
Not true. Not true. Maneskin, they won too. Very famous Italian band. Anyway, speaking of things that Frank always gets right, let's talk about the weather.
Oh, can they? I don't know if they're going to have a shot of it. It's nice out there, and it's warm and mild. It's going to be nice tomorrow. And then I keep looking at the models for Saturday, and this front's going to make its way through. But I tell you what, it's not even really going to be in the state until Saturday morning.
All right, so here's my question for you. You've been talking about in the evening and the parade and all of that, and concern about that. Okay, during the day on Saturday, I was thinking of going out maybe to a petting zoo or to a carnival.
You're looking for a Valentine's Day?
Yeah. Well, I'm not looking for a Valentine. I might do something with my mom on Valentine's Day she would enjoy. But everything I'm thinking of is outdoors. During the day, city-wise, can we get in and out without the rain hitting us?
There may be a few spotty showers ahead of the front, but I don't think I think it's more about the front itself.
And that'll be here in the evening.
Well, and again, I mean, it'll be in the hill country at 1 o'clock. So will it make its way all the way to Galveston by 6? That's a long way to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I'm not going to the hill country.
If it's going 40 miles an hour, it might make it in 6 hours. But I'm just telling my peeps down there in Galveston, don't give up the ship just yet.
Well, speaking of your peeps, we have a comment over on YouTube. I grew up hearing Frank give the weather, and I'm always happy to hear him doing it still. And he does do it still.
I always tell people, you either grew up with me, grew old with me, or grew sick of me. One of the three.
Well, let's stop it before they get sick of you now. What's coming up on the show?
We're going to talk to Jim Morris, founder, executive director, and editor-in-chief of Public Health Watch, about a new report highlighting pollution in Texas. And I know that sounds very general, Ernie, but I read the report. It's very specific. Mm-hmm. And some of it will, I think you'll be glad that you listen to this because it needs to be brought to your attention.
Good to know. Before we get into headlines, though, let's grab Christina from West University. She called in at 713-440-8870. Christina, what's on your mind?
Are you there, Christina?
Oh, I got all excited to grab her before we went on.
Maybe she'll call back.
I hope so. I don't know where she is.
Okay, get us into the headlines.
Okay, here you go. Harris County is seeking a federal court for a temporary restraining order to stop a proposed FEMA workforce cuts that local officials say would weaken disaster response along the Gulf Coast. County attorneys filed the motion this week, saying recent directives could see the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA's, staff reduced by about half, jeopardizing emergency planning and recovery. County leaders argue the cuts conflict with the congressional mandates that FEMA maintain the capacity to help communities prepare for and respond to disasters, and this could slow response times when storms or emergencies hit. In a series of other statements on Wednesday, Harris County Commissioners Leslie Briones, Rodney Ellis, and Adrian Garcia supported the efforts to halt the mass layoffs of the agency. So what are your thoughts about FEMA layoffs? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I rushed through that because I'm really curious what you had to say about it.
Well,
Frank.
FEMA is the one that really helps you get your small business loan or a grant when you've been devastated by a storm. And so, in fact, I had one of the FEMA guys tell me when Hurricane Ike was on the way, before it even got here, we're interviewing him on Channel 2. And he was in the studio, and he looked at me and he said, go ahead and file a claim with FEMA. Even if you don't have to use it, go ahead before the storm even gets here so that you will be in the queue. And then FEMA ended up staying in Galveston, I want to say, about a year and a half. I mean, they were there, at least somebody from FEMA, for a long time. They get you back on your feet. That's what FEMA does for so many people, get you back to trying to become whole again. And for any cuts to FEMA, with the weather that we are seeing, from here to California to Montana to New York State, it's crazy out there, and we really need FEMA. So with these Doge cuts and all that, I'm all for this. So good for Harris County. We need somebody to stick up for us. And Leslie Briones and Rodney Ellis and Adrian Garcia, it's terrific.
And, you know, a lot of folks, they have a bad reaction when you say any government agencies. And when you think of FEMA, we often hear the worst of the worst stories. But you have to realize that there's a whole lot of other work they're doing. It's not just these places where you hear things didn't go well, because the reason you hear about the things that didn't go well is because so much of it goes right.
And people think FEMA go in and leave. You know, like the Red Cross or Clara Barton. You know, you go, you check it out, and you leave. No, they stay for months, if not years in some places, to help people.
Right.
It's one of the best agencies that we've got. My concern, and I've said this in our show about 6 months ago, is that Trump wants to do away with it because he wants to be in control of the money that states get. And so if you have the right governor, in his opinion, then and you need FEMA money, you go to Trump for it, not to FEMA. And then Trump gets to decide whose disasters are met with public funds and whose aren't. And if you want your disaster to be met with public funds, you need to elect the right governor, don't you? I think it's a big Trojan horse. I say it all the time. There's always somebody behind the curtain.
And another thing to keep in mind when you hear those things that Frank is saying, also,
it's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's just Frank's opinion. That wasn't what I was going to say. It's that oftentimes when you have an administration that aligns with your values and beliefs and they're making massive changes, you have to realize those massive changes often stay in place when the next administration comes in. So it's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you don't want it to be decided by the White House and you want a federal agency like FEMA to decide these things, you want to vote to keep it in their hands.
Well, FEMA has experience. They can go in and say, okay, this is going to take $500 million to fix because we saw it here, we saw it there, we saw it over there, and now we're seeing it again. And that kind of experience you only have if you have people in the field doing the work. So you can't just cut all these FEMA people. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
If you've had an experience with FEMA, want to share it with us, either pro or con, or your feelings about the funding being cut for them and the workforce disappearing, give us a call, 713-440-8870. 8870. Something else going on in our area, Frank. Take us into that story.
Houston animal shelters could soon have access to millions of dollars in state funding for increased spay and neuter programs. This is so important. Last September 1, the Texas Department of State Health Services spay and neuter pilot program went into effect. Houston area shelters are hoping to take advantage. The program appropriated $13 million over the next 2 fiscal years for the sterilization of dogs and cats. The funds will be distributed to municipal, county shelters, private animal shelters, 501Cs, I should say, animal rescue entities, veterinarian clinics, just everybody who's a part of this can apply for these grants that range from $50,000 to $500,000. As of right now, the Houston Humane Society does offer spay and neuter services for free a few times a year on days called Fix Felix and Spay Day. Jaime Olin, interim director of the Texas Humane Legislation Network, said the grant will protect Texans and animals alike. One part that this is not addressing is the strays, like Pet Set. The Pet Set ladies, they go into neighborhoods and they spay and neuter the stray dogs and even cats. And that's the problem, because people can adopt a dog and watch it and keep it in the fence or either spay or neuter and take care of that. But it's the wild dogs that just populate like crazy. So you got to get in there in the neighborhoods, spay those dogs, neuter those dogs so that they can't reproduce. That's the answer to that problem. And so this money for that group would be terrific.
And I think they can apply if they're a 501c
I hope they do.
nonprofit, then they can file for it and they can get funding to go out and do that work, which I think, like you say, it's very important. It's funny if you're a world traveler and you've been to the Greek islands, which
I have been to the Greek islands.
They are loaded with cats, and they're stray cats, and they feed the stray cats, and it's a culture built around these stray cats. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, well, Key West is full of roosters. and you can't eat them because they're protected. They're protected. They're bird protection. There are so many roosters, they will wake you up. Believe me.
The only thing I have to say to that is if you have a comment, give us a call, 713-440-8870. Sharon is on the line from Spring Branch. Sharon, save me from the rooster talk.
Certainly. I'll put you back on a nice topic of FEMA.
Okay, put me back to
FEMA.
FEMA.
I am a Katrina transplant, and if Trump pulls out FEMA, he's going to look exactly like George Bush did, flying over the city with Brownie. And that's all I have to say.
Well, welcome to Houston. I'm glad you're here. And I'm sorry you went through Katrina. I hope everybody in your family's all right.
Sharon, before you leave us, your experience working with FEMA, was it a good one?
No, not in Katrina.
Yes.
It was?
Yes.
Well, that's
Yes.
great. Even
because my interaction was over here in Houston. What transpired in New Orleans happened to other family members and was not necessarily even passable. But Houston has been so welcoming. I stayed. There was nothing for me to go home to.
Well, I'm sorry there was nothing to go home to, but I'm happy you found a home here and that you found us welcoming. And thank you for being part of our family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we run out of time on this segment, I did want to bring up that James Van Der Beek passed. I know everyone knows that. But, he was such an icon in the 90s. And just kind of, to hear him, he just thought that his stomach was acting up after coffee, and he was going to the bathroom a lot and didn't recognize any signs of colon cancer because he just, in his 40s, and just thought what he was going through was kind of normal. And so if anything else, I think he would like us to say to people, if you have any changes in your normal routine with your body, you need to at least ask a doctor about it.
Yep. Early screenings. He was preaching for early screenings, early detection. And I have seen they are posting some of the videos he made before he passed in the immediate time near that. And his talk about finding grace and finding love for himself and sharing this message with other people, and how he had defined himself as an actor for so long and a performer. And then he got married and saw himself as a husband, and then saw himself as a father. and then found, though, that he could just love himself for who he was and that we're all worthy of loving ourselves. And it was just really powerful. I saw that video this morning.
He was a beautiful man. And he said, relax, enjoy life. Don't be in such a hurry. And usually when you're at the end of your life is when you say those kind of things, for sure, because you realize the gravity of the situation. But I didn't really know his work that well because I never watched Dawson's Creek. But the things I did see him in, he was a good actor. And
some of the notable things.
He never got in trouble. He was always a nice guy. Got, family man. And this, he certainly didn't deserve this. I've had a frightening number of people I know die of colon cancer. And it's happening more and more to young people. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be one, but we eat a lot of crap.
Oh, yeah.
And that goes through your colon. And I don't know that we know exactly what we're putting in our bodies sometimes. So, if you want to obsess over something, obsess over what you're eating.
It's things you can check and you can be on top of and get those, be a regular visitor with your health practitioner. Just really quickly, James Van Der Beek, some of his noted roles, as you mentioned, Dawson's Creek, Varsity Blues, Don't Trust the Bee, and Apartment 23. If you haven't seen that series, that's a fun show and very interesting and kind of genre breaking. He was also in Rules of Attraction. But really, he was known for being a loving husband and father. His wife, he's survived by Kimberly, his wife, and his 6 children.
I know.
Very sad.
I know.
Only
good
48
vibes to
years
that
old.
family for sure.
Yeah. Coming up on the show, Frank.
All right. We're going to talk to Jim Morris, founder, executive director, and editor-in-chief of Public Health Watch, about a new report that's actually a little bit frightening and highlights the pollution in Texas, including right here in Houston. That's next on News 88.7.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro Fare system will replace the old Metro Q Fare Card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
Adulthood. I feel like I've had a reverse experience where childhood was quite stressful and adulthood is quite fun.
That's on Wildcard, and it's been a minute from NPR.
You can hear it this Saturday at 6 p.m.
I'm Stephen Dubner, host of Freakonomics Radio. Every week, Freakonomics Radio explores the hidden side of, well, everything. From the economics of sleep to when is the best time to rob a bank. So tune in next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Freakonomics, Mondays at 10 p.m. on News 88.7. Support comes from Gelb Productions, presenting Il Volo, with a performance including arias, classic Italian melodies, and crossover selections. Saturday, April 25th at Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land. Tickets at smartfinancialcenter.net. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro Fare system replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
All right, Texas leads the nation in oil, gas, and petrochemical production, but the rapid expansion of the industry and the state's leaders' hands-off approach to regulation could have serious consequences for public health. There's a new report out from Texas Health Watch. It says the state's rapid expansion of petrochemical facilities is raising serious concerns about pollution, especially in communities located near these new plants, of which a lot of Houston communities are. Despite these concerns, the TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, seems to be doing little to regulate these expansions. To tell us more, we're joined by Jim Morris, founder, executive director, and editor-in-chief of Public Health Watch, to walk us through what their report told in 13 scenes. It shows us all about the emissions, the health risks, and what this continued growth could mean for Texas. Jim, welcome to Hello Houston. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
I did like your report. It was kind of point and click and see and say. It was a very well laid out, simple, here's what we're looking at, here's where it's going to happen. Here are these type of problems, those type of problems, this kind of chemical, that kind of chemical, and what it can do. So let's start with telling people where they can see this report.
Yes, they can go to publichealthwatch.org, publichealthwatch, one word, .org, and go to our homepage. And the headline just says, Texas clears the way for petrochemical expansion as experts warn of health risks. So it should be pretty easy to find.
Okay, so I had a link to it, so it was easy to find. I encourage people to go and take a look at this. So there are a lot of spots in Harris County, Jefferson County, that are due for more petrochemical expansion. Is that fair?
Yeah, we are in the second decade of just a frenzied expansion of the petrochemical industry here in Texas. And I'm speaking to you from Austin, by the way, although I worked in Houston for 9 years at the Houston Chronicle, so I know the city pretty well. But, we're into decade number 2 now, and there's no sign of this infrastructure boom slowing, which you might think is great. That's great for the economy, and in some ways it is good for the economy. But the question we asked with this story is, how much is enough, or how much is too much? And do we really need more plants that are going to make more plastics, for example, or add to pollutants in places like Harris County or Jefferson County? And so we were simply trying to present the facts in an engaging way. There's a lot of data in there. We have a wonderful data reporter who crunched the numbers and, came up with some pretty striking findings.
There are those that are going to say, but growth, good, more industry, more jobs, more money. This is what we need to be focused on. What would you say to them to broaden their view a little?
I would say with that, you get more carcinogens in the air, carcinogens like benzene, 1,3-butadiene, and you get more greenhouse gases. And one thing that I found out through our data journalists when we started this story a few months ago was Texas puts out more greenhouse gases already. We're not talking about 5 years from now. Texas already puts out more greenhouse gases than Saudi Arabia, which really surprised me, or the global shipping industry, the entire commercial shipping industry. So that's where we are now. It only goes up from there. So again, I think you have to balance the health and climate consequences against whatever economic benefits there might be.
Jim, we often hear across the nation stories about bad water, polluted water, and what it can do to you. I mean, there have been movies made about bad water and what it does, and people just go nuts over bad water, and they don't seem to care about the air they breathe every day. Why don't they care like they care about the water?
I couldn't agree more with you. And again, having lived in Houston for 9 years in the 1990s, I guess you just get sort of numb to it, especially if you live in areas like Channelview or Pasadena or Manchester. We've talked to people over the years who say, after a while, you just stop smelling it. And, they worry about cancer, they worry about other diseases, but they just sort of throw up their hands and say, this is what life is like in Houston. And I guess I have to put up with it.
Yeah, they've always said it's the smell of money, as Ernie pointed out.
Oh, yes. That goes back many years.
Yeah, so. Putting back on my Monopoly top hat again, and that sounds where I'm coming in from in this question, too. But can you have growth within this kind of industry and build all the positive things that industrialists are looking for, more jobs, more profits, with solutions to the problems that it's causing to the environment and still be cost effective? Is there a way all of this can work together from where you sit?
I believe so. You have to have some enforcement, though, and in this state, it's the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the TCQ, that is supposed to be enforcing, these air pollution regulations. And I think you can find a balance, but I think we would state that it's really swung too far in favor of industry. There is so little serious enforcement that what do you do? people just sort of, again, throw up their hands and say, well, the state's not going to protect me, so I guess there is nothing I can do. So, yeah, I think it's possible to strike a balance, but to strike that balance, you do have to have serious enforcement of the laws.
If there was this serious enforcement that you would want, does research, your studies, conventional wisdom say industry would still stay here and grow, or would they flee?
Where would they go to? I mean, not to be flippant, but I mean, are they going to move to Iowa? I don't think so. I mean, they're in Texas for a reason, near the Gulf of Mexico and these waterways, and able to use the natural gas from the West Texas oil fields from the Permian Basin. I mean, they're here for a reason, and they've been here for a reason for well over a century. And so, again, where would they go?
Jim, we got a YouTube remark from Charlie Parker saying, great research and presentation, easy to understand and navigate. Thank you, Jim. I agree with them. Give us a few numbers. Like the number that comes to mind with me is 5 new petrochemical plants right around Channelview, within 20 miles of Channelview. Give me some numbers on what we're looking at in terms of how many of what and where they're going to be if not stopped.
Yeah, I'll have to refer to my notes here real quickly. I know there are 41, this is statewide, but the bulk of these are in either Harris or Jefferson counties, 41 new plants or expanded plants on the books just for the next 5 years.
Wow.
And some of these are massive. There's something called an ethane cracker, which is part of the plastics production process, that is planned for Port Neches, Texas, over in Jefferson County, that is going to be one of the biggest in the country, I believe. They just keep coming in.
Jim, let me get
and the other thing.
Let me get your reaction to this, Jim. Rich from Baytown says, new plants are actually very clean. It's the old ones that are the problem. There are plants in Deer Park that bleed pollution. With these 41 new plants, are they actually very clean?
It's impossible to say, looking at the paperwork, and that leads me to one of our other key findings is that the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the TCQ, as I said, they have to issue permits to all these plants. If they want to build a new plant, if they want to add on to their current plant, they have to get a permit to pollute the air, in effect, from the state, which is supposed to set limits on certain pollutants and so forth. And the law says if they can't meet certain public health conditions, they should not be given a permit. They should be denied a permit. We found that almost never happens. We went back 25 years, and the percentage of permits that have been denied was, I think it was 0.5, so less than 1%. So when that's happening, I don't think there's any way for the public to know whether these new plants or older plants are operating safely. Because everybody seems to get a permit.
Is it a concerted effort, do you think, to do this, to behave in this manner, or is it a lack of employees and resources to be able to get out there and address these issues as they're happening?
You're talking about the TCQ specifically?
Yeah.
I think the message has come down pretty clearly that, these plants need to get their permits. And it would take some sort of extraordinary circumstance for them not to get it. It's hard for me to believe, having lived in this state for a long time and sort of followed this, that this is just happenstance, that this is by accident. So that's my view anyway.
If you had to guess, would you say that those who own these plants or build these plants are big supporters of our politicians?
I think that is a very good guess, yes.
So it's hard to fight City Hall on this one, isn't it?
It's hard to fight Austin in this case, too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean it metaphorically, but you're right. It is. So what can you do? Well, let me ask you this. What are you trying to do, and what can you do?
We or the public?
Well, you are the leader here, but your organization leading the public.
Yeah, so we're journalists. We're not advocates. We don't lobby. We don't, protest. We give the public information they think they can use, we think they can use to make decisions, to talk to their elected officials. The successes that we note at the end of the piece are relatively minor, but you sort of take what you can get in Texas. You take incremental progress, if you will. And the success, such as there has been mainly at the local level. So, getting your local state rep or your state senator to sponsor legislation cracking down on pollution. That's what happened as a result of one of our stories, not this story, but a story we did about 3 years ago out of the Houston area. State Representative Penny Morales-Shaw, who represents, I think, Northwestern Houston, read the story, got really angry, introduced legislation, this would have been in 2023, that increased fines for polluters in this state for the first time in more than a decade. And it passed. Somewhat surprising to us, it passed. So, it's just, what's that?
It can be done.
It can be done. It can be done. And then as a result of another story, State Senator Carol Alvarado last year, sponsored a kind of a similar bill looking to crack down on high levels of benzene in places like Channelview and other parts of the Harris County. That did not get through. So, whether she tries again in 27, I don't know. But certainly environmental advocates in this state who talk to us say it can take several legislative sessions to get these sorts of things through, and you just have to keep chipping away at it.
Looking more broadly, even like outside of our state or even globally on this, is there a shining example of a community or of a people who have figured out how to let this all work together in balance that would satisfy the communities and keep them safer and more environmentally strong?
I'm just not sure. I'm sure it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
We just focused on Texas as part of this report. Yeah, in theory, again, if you have reasonably strict regulation, these companies are not going to shut down if they have a clear understanding of what the law says they should do, and that law is enforced. And more important, perhaps, they're all playing by the same rules. The big guys are treated the same as the smaller guys in terms of industry. I think most will comply. Maybe they're not going to be happy about it, but most will comply. But if you're never even asked to comply, why bother, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a number of YouTube comments for a state that says they want to protect children. Why are they exposing them to so many carcinogens? Another is the CCEQ, definitely limited by state government. They effectively aren't allowed to use their, quote, teeth by the high-ups in the state. This one is from a Twitter song. Tell me about this, Jim. If we refine the dirty Venezuelan oil here in Houston, our pollution will get worse. Why do your clothes smell after walking the dog? Pollution. Is that true or an exaggeration?
It's true. The Venezuelan oil is very high sulfur. And I read a piece just yesterday or the day before in the New York Times. It wasn't out of Texas. It was out of Pascagoula, Mississippi, where there's a Chevron refinery that is already and is taking this sort of heavy oil, and they're going to take more of it now. And the story was about the community next door just dreading what's coming and asking Chevron to buy them out. So yeah, the Venezuelan oil, because of its high sulfur content, is just really, really nasty stuff.
Yeah, just so people get a bearing on that, it's Gulfport, Biloxi, Pascagoula, and then Mobile, Alabama. So all of that right there on the Gulf Coast. And they've had that refinery there for 50 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been around a while, yeah.
A long time. And I guess they can do it or try to do it. So at the end of the day, you don't advocate, but you report. Do you send your reports to our state legislature, to the people involved?
We do sometimes, yes. And then advocates usually share our stuff pretty widely too.
And what
So
about,
again, we try to produce rigorously fact-checked, data-driven reporting that anyone can use, however they want to use it.
well, like the
But we don't.
TCEQ? Do you send it to the TCEQ?
TCEQ, we'd love it. We'd love it if they would look at some of this stuff, and they probably do. But it's just meant to be for anyone to use to get a clear data-driven look at whatever the issue is.
Well, it sounds like saving the Garden Oaks Theater, Jim. We're going to have to get on our email and start getting in touch with some people to make some changes.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much. Jim Morris is the
you.
founder and executive director and editor-in-chief of Public Health Watch. Good luck to you, and thanks for your hard work on all of this. We do appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me.
That report's easy to read. Everyone should have a look. Thank you, Jim. All right,
Glad
coming
to
up,
hear that.
a
Thank you.
celebration of the legendary Nat King Cole. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro Fare System will replace the old Metro Q Fare Card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org
Or call 888-909-0887.
Houston Matters highlights the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. And we do it live on the air weekday mornings at 9 on News 88.7. But we know you're not always available then to listen. So subscribe to our podcast wherever you get yours, or find each day's program to stream online at your leisure at houstonpublicmedia.org. And reach out with questions or comments anytime. Email us at talk@houstonmatters.org.
Hi, I'm John Donvan, host of Open to Debate, where we bring you open-minded discussions and debates about the issues affecting our lives. Everything from science and tech to politics, culture, and foreign policy. In our divided nation, we feel it's more important than ever for people to be open-minded, open to disagreement, and open to listening to the other side. Join me in being open to debate.
Sunday night at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was like really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, and our world is changing so fast. On the TED Radio Hour, we invite innovators, researchers, and activists to unpack those changes with us.
Just about all companies are becoming technology companies or technology-enabled companies.
Listen to the TED Radio Hour from NPR every week for conversations that will deepen your understanding of our changing world.
The TED Radio Hour, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was like really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
For the next two nights, the Hobby Center will present the concert Love Always, celebrating the romance of Nat King Cole, a musical valentine to the romanticism of one of America's most celebrated singers. Now featuring Judge Jazz trumpeter, vocalist, and composer Jumaane Smith, known for his work with artists like Michael Bublé, Harry Connick Jr., and Quincy Jones. He's going to be performing renditions of some of Cole's most unforgettable songs, including Embraceable You, I'm in the Mood for Love, and, of course, Unforgettable.
Unforgettable.
Yeah, no, he's going to do it, Frank, not you. This concert, to remember, to learn more, we're welcoming Jumaane Smith to the show. Hello there, sir.
Hey, how you
Great
doing?
to have you here. Great to be celebrating Valentine's Day with a show like this.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with the show, and then we'll go broad and talk about you and your career and all that. Tell me about Love Always.
Well, this is one of my favorite shows to do.
Yeah.
I always look forward to this time of year when I can celebrate Nat King Cole and celebrate the history of the Great American Songbook through all these beautiful love songs that he popularized and made famous. And I'm so excited because obviously love is such a huge component of everybody's life. And some might argue the most important part of people's life.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing to celebrate. And I don't think we do it enough. You know, we have this one day or week that we celebrate love and whatever it is, everlasting love, love that doesn't last, you know, every love in between. There's all kinds of different loves that you can celebrate within the greater picture of love.
Talk to me a little bit about the connection between the feeling, the idea of love, and music. They have been tied together in such a way for so long, how there are those songs that remind us of this love, and that love reminds us of the... They seem very interconnected. You can't really have one without the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're very interconnected. And I think part of that is because of the artistry that it takes to make a song and to sort of capture an emotion or capture a moment in time or how that artist is feeling, and the work that goes into making that, creating that artwork. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a tremendous thing that takes time and energy. It's not like an instant gratification thing. And so when you put your heart and soul into something and you help it grow and you guide it in a way, sort of like how a farmer builds a garden, mm-hmm. in a way, you know. And if you create a song with all of those components, or anything, if you put your heart and soul into it and love into it, and you know you're compassionate about what you're doing, then it really comes across in the sentiment of the work.
Well, Jumaane, who came up with this Nat King Cole one-man presentation, and when did they first start doing this show?
Well, I came up with this particular show.
Okay, and when did you start?
The first time I debuted the show was last year. I debuted it up near Boston at Tanglewood, mm-hmm. and it was a really great time there, and it was a beautiful experience. We had a great house, and everybody really enjoyed it. And so,
well, I think everybody likes Nat King Cole too. He's just kind of just a great icon. So, what attracted you to all of this? The songs themselves, him, the word, all of it. Just what made you come up with this?
Well, he's one of my biggest influences as an artist and as a instrumentalist and vocalist. You know, there's a lot of interconnectedness between those two things, and between me being a jazz artist and him being one of my favorite classic tenor jazz artists.
Just made sense, didn't it?
Yeah. I couldn't wait to try to put my own spin on some of his material.
Nice.
That's where I wanted to go with it, about putting your own spin on it. Some of these things are so recognizable, and it seems like it would be easy to fall into imitation when doing something like that. How much for you as an artist is respecting and honoring what he did, and how much of it is putting your own special sauce on it, your own spin to it, and where do you feel the freedom?
I feel like the freedom lies in both ends of the spectrum. I feel like I also feel like it's maybe 50-50, you know, 50-50, you know, giving the element of his music and the utilizing the beautiful music that he's made in the ways that he's made it, and paying homage to that, and also allowing myself to be creative with the material and finding new ways of approaching it that are honoring his legacy and honoring the music and the tradition that he's done, put together, and also progressing in a way that is unique to what I can bring to the table.
And speaking of that uniqueness too, if my numbers are right, 5 Grammy-winning albums you've been part of. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been fortunate to be able to be a part of some beautiful projects that have gotten recognition, and a lot of beautiful projects that haven't as well. Yeah.
What brings you to Houston? We're glad you're here. What brought you this way?
Well, it was to get the opportunity to be here in the studio with you all, of course.
Now we're really glad you're here.
And my kids, they want something from NASA. So.
This is a great place to come. Okay, the balance. We've been talking about this all throughout the show, balance and all of that. In your case, balancing family life with being a performer. Hard balance, easy balance?
Constantly spinning plates. You know? It's an amazing opportunity to raise a family, and also, it's challenging regardless of what you do. And as a person who travels a lot for work, that makes it a little bit harder sometimes. And I have to rely on my network of trusted relatives and family members to.
So you're here tonight and tomorrow night. Do you get to be back home with your family on Valentine's Day, or do you have another gig?
I'm leaving at 4:30 in the morning. If I wasn't back, my wife would she'd lock me out.
Where is home for you? Newark City?
No, well, just outside of New York. I live in Connecticut these days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I'm often in the city. I work a lot in the city. I still do a fair amount of sideman stuff, and right now I'm involved sometimes with this Broadway show up there called Just in Time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know. I saw that.
Oh, yeah?
With Jonathan Groff just last December.
Yeah, wonderful.
And then they have someone else coming in.
They do have someone else coming in.
To replace him. I guess he's moving on to other things. But that's a fun show.
Yeah. It's nice. The band is on stage, and the band is a big part of the spirit of Bobby Darin's music, of course. And so, when the project came along and they asked me to be a part of it, I was like, Nice. I've never done Broadway, so let me give it a shot. And
it was fun watching Jonathan spit all over everyone. And he even makes a joke about it. I'm not being snarky. He's like, we're gonna have a spit fest tonight. He's very funny about that. So,
he's a great guy, though.
He seems like it. His work is terrific. So you're in good stead, that's for sure.
You talk about Bobby Darin, Nat King Cole, kind of these icons in there, but you've also worked with Michael Bublé, Harry Connick Jr., Quincy Jones. For you, what makes a legendary performer last? What have you found that is a trait that runs through all of these folks?
I think one thing that runs through all of them is having access to deep pockets. Because that helps
back to the money.
That helps provide exposure.
Yeah.
And there's tons of great artists that we will never know of because the exposure wasn't there at the right time for them, or they didn't know how to get their thing out on social media or whatnot. But there's that. There's also having some serious grit and drive and the ability to continue believing in yourself when nobody else does.
Mm-hmm.
And that is definitely the biggest through line to me is what it is, and in your heart of hearts that this is what's meant for you, and this is the direction that you are going to take, and everybody else just has to catch up with what you're doing. Yeah. And eventually it tends to happen,
Well, even Madonna said, I'm not the best singer out there, but I know how to put on a show.
Oh, yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Like you have great charisma, and I'm sure people just gravitate to you. And that's just kind of luck, but it's also learning how to smile and look people in the eye and be confident. I think that you said that. Once you believe in yourself, that is an attractive quality that draws people to you.
Absolutely.
When you walk up on stage, we're just about out of time, but I'm curious, is there a character you feel yourself putting on to get on that stage and perform this show, or are you just bringing your raw, complete self?
I would say it's my raw, complete self, all the good and bad and everything in between, It's funny. I really feel so comfortable on stage. It doesn't matter if there's 50,000 people or more or less or 100 people. I feel like that is where I'm meant to be, and that's
Well,
I
you're
live
meant
for
to
those
be
moments.
here the next 2 nights. Jumaane Smith, jazz trumpeter, vocalist, and composer. Thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love Always, celebrating the romance of Nat King Cole, will run at the Hobby Center tonight and tomorrow night. For more information, of course, visit thehobbycenter.org. And that, as Celeste always says, brings us to the end of this show. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston. We'll be back tomorrow with more conversation, including a conversation with U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett, who will discuss her run for the Senate. Thanks for listening. This is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing